Good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome to our final session of the dialogue that we've been having. I trust you had some good interactions in the various breakaway sessions that we had during the whole day. So during this session, as we now bring our dialogue to a close, we will start with a presentation of the draft communique and action plan. And we have Joy Mabenge, who is the country director of Action Aid Zimbabwe, who will take us through the presentation of the draft communique. Joy, over to you. Thank you. Is Joy with us? Has Joy joined? Yes, Joy, you're with us.
I have joined. Daniel, please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, Joy, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So let me start by greeting the participants. Unfortunately, I can't see you, you can't see me. But the good thing is I know there are hundreds of us in the room, hundreds of us on the call. Great that we have had 2 days of deliberations, and my responsibility at this particular point in time is to take you through the draft communique and get a sense where we are and what we are communicating to the outside world. So if we're seeing each other in our tradition, when we meet with people's movements, when we meet with labor, social movements, civil society organizations, and many others, who would have energized the room. And many a times we must do slogans because that's what we are made of. And many a times we would, of course, I would have said to you, Amandla, and you would have responded, Awetu. And I will still say to you, Amandla. And wherever you are, you must respond Awetu. It doesn't matter whether you are sitting in your kitchen or you are sitting in an office or somewhere. But the most important thing is let's energize each other. Amandla, I know
Awetu. I can come
yes,
in.
I can hear that.
I'm representing
we need to keep
everybody
the energy
here.
in the room because this is the last session and we are now affirming what we are committing to. So it's a good feeling. So colleagues, the drafting team has taken time to put together a communique. And this is a regional dialogue for the avoidance of doubt. This is on a regional dialogue for non-state actors on the SADC RISDP 2020 to 2030 and its draft implementation plan. And this is of course related to the meeting held on the 29th to the 30th of June 2021 virtually. And we reaffirm here that our theme was building back better, ensuring social accountability in Southern Africa's development. And our communique has a background. I'm not so sure if Julie, you are able to share. Yes, I can see you are sharing the screen. That is good. Thank you so much. So we have the background as the very start of that communique. Yes, Julie, great. So on that part, we talk about the organizers. The organizers, we are all by now aware who the co-organizers are, and they are listed there. And that's the essence of that very first section on 1.1. Yes, Julie, let's move to the next section. 1.2 talks about the number of people that participated either in plenary sessions or in breakaway sessions. And we do mention here that there were participants from 13 of the about 16 SADC member states, and all of us joined this dialogue representing non-state actors, CSOs, civil society, smallholder, farmers associations, workers' organizations, trade unions, youth organizations, people's movements, faith-based organizations, private sector associations and chambers of commerce and media outlets, as well as the SATUCC Secretariat and national government officials, including SADC national contact points. So this is who we are, and we put it in that communique just to emphasize the people that met there. Let's move to 1.3, Julie. And we begin there by noting really that the RISDP 2020 to 2030 and Vision 2050 were already approved by the SADC heads of state and government in August of 2020, that is last year. And the Council of Ministers is due to adopt the RISDP implementation plan before August of this year, which will lay out the various actions to be taken by SADC and its member states. And we do note that the 10-year regional strategy envisages in quotes a peaceful, inclusive, middle to high income industrialized region where all citizens enjoy sustainable economic well-being, justice and freedom. I am sure we all agree that this is how it is and that there isn't much there to argue about. So on point 1.4, again, we are cognizant that the RISDP comes online amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the situation where this indicative development plan is coming into being. And we note here that because of SADC, because of COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen a restriction in broad public consultation, as well as, placing before the region both additional hurdles as well as opportunities. And this is, of course, in the context of COVID-19. We are cognizant also of the existing economic challenges that have been further deepened by the global downturn caused by COVID-19. We note here that both formal and informal employment have decreased, resulting in less income for many households, particularly in urban areas. Is diversion of national budgets and personnel to respond to the crisis, as well as the impact of the restrictions themselves, which has affected the delivery of public services in many sectors. The effects of climate change, persistent drought, flooding and pests compounded by economic challenges, poverty, inequality, conflict, the negative impact of natural resource extraction, and gaps in social accountability have all contributed to food insecurity. And again, we are cognizant, additionally, that the gendered nature and impact of COVID-19. And of course, this has increased vulnerability of women and girls and exacerbated gender-based violence, GBV. And we welcomed and appreciated that SADC has highlighted in the RISDP the importance of engaging and forming strategic partnerships with non-state actors to ensure the successful implementation of regional policies and programs. And on 1.6 of this communique, we reiterate the importance of regional instruments, and we list them there. There are so many of them. We've just listed indicative ones, talking to the Malabo Declaration, talking to the Abuja Declaration on HIV and AIDS, TB and other related infections, and many other declarations that are there on agriculture and others there. We would be happy to add others if it is necessary to do so. We can move to 1.7, Julie. Yes, so we again noted the importance of social accountability for effective delivery of quality, affordable, accessible, and gender-responsive public service to all the people, and ultimately to the achievement of the SDGs and regional commitments, as mentioned above in the areas of climate change and agriculture, health, trade, gender, COVID-19 vaccines, labor, youth and non-state actors engagement. So there we now go to the actual recommendations that we are putting on the table as per the deliberations that we had over the 2 days. So the first one is on recommendations related to climate change and agriculture. And on these ones, I will actually take you through number one. So we note the need to ensure widespread adoption of sustainable agriculture practices to assist smallholder farmers. You can go up a bit. Yes, thanks, Julie. To assist smallholder farmers to to adapt to the effects of climate change and to accelerate agricultural growth as means of fighting hunger and poverty. And we therefore, 2.1, call upon SADC and member states to strengthen the establishment of JSR and smallholder farmer and CSO inclusive food and nutrition councils at district and sub-district levels to guide, monitor, and oversee food and nutrition strategies, plans, programs, and budgets. The second one is we encourage SADC to develop and implement a robust regional agriculture development and advisory extension services strategy that supports rural agriculture production clusters to promote agroecology. And we underline agroecology there. Farmer managed seed systems and gender responsive public services, and additionally to avoid imposition of GMOs. So the underlining there is around agroecology and of course avoiding the imposition of GMOs. We urge SADC and member states to increase funding to the agricultural sector and rapidly operationalize and finance the stalled SADC Agriculture Development Fund, the ADF. Then we move on to health. So our recommendations related to health are: we note the need to improve SADC citizens' health in general and to promote HIV testing and SRH services for adolescents and young people in particular. We therefore, 3.1, call upon the governments for more transparency and sharing of public resources management related information in order to enhance the participation of citizens in social accountability monitoring of HIV and SRH public services. Number 2, on that one, we urge the members of parliament to bring government line ministries and enterprises to account for any compromises on management of public resources meant for public health service delivery. And this includes accountability for implementation of resolutions raised in reports from the Auditor General and or Office of the Ombudsman. This will contribute, in our view, towards reducing lost resources meant for HIV, SRH services through corruption and abuse. The third one is we call upon the government to review or develop new laws and legal frameworks that reduce the cost of essential HIV, SRH life-saving commodities. The fourth one is we encourage the government to revisit existing tax frameworks and architecture for the purposes of creating a sustainable flow of resources for health care provision and incentivizing private sector investments in HIV, SRH service provision. Then the fourth one is on trade. So we note the need to expand support for women's small-scale cross-border traders, especially as they have been the most negatively affected by border closures and travel restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. We therefore, number 1 on the fourth one, call upon SADC and COMESA and their member states to put in place mechanisms to strengthen data collection on the contribution of small-scale cross-border trade in order to inform the adoption of appropriate policy responses and infrastructure. We urge SADC to ensure the SADC simplified trade regime creates an enabling business environment through facilitating the economic activity of cross-border traders. With the new environment due to COVID-19, this should include the provision of adequate soft infrastructure at borders to harness the full potential of cross-border traders, that is reducing the cost and complexity of documentation required for small-scale or low-value consignment customs procedures and trade transactions. Again, we encourage SADC and member states to educate and build the capacity among traders on the use of electronic payment and online safe trading platforms to facilitate and ease trade and protect traders from contracting COVID-19. So for example, customs and border management facilities should provide support desks to assist small-scale traders to comply with the new digital and online system. Let me pause a little bit there and get a sense we are still together. Amandla. Comrade, you can unmute and respond to me. Amandla. Amandla. Thank you so much. We are still together. We are almost done. We are almost done. On the fifth one, yes, Julie, you can get this one moving up. Thank you so much. I can also see responses from some colleagues that the power is with us. We have the power as the people. Recommendations related to gender. Noting the need for increased protection, monitoring, and strategies to tackle the exacerbated gender-based violence and other negative impacts of COVID-19 in the region. We therefore, the first one on this one, call upon SADC member states to review penal codes and specific criminalizing laws that continue to impact the most marginalized and vulnerable in society, in particular, women, girls, and disabled persons. The second one there is we recommend that there be a gender disaggregated data collection that ensures clear communications in light of COVID-19 and vaccine justice as it affects gender equality. The third one there is we encourage SADC member states to initiate discussion and implementation of gender-based violence model law and synergies with the child marriage model law, national commitments, and rollout. We are moving to the sixth one, and this is related to COVID-19 vaccines. We note the need for improved quality and access to vaccinations for COVID-19 among SADC citizens, and we therefore, the first one on that one, call upon SADC and its member states to improve communication about the science of vaccines, including collaborating with non-state actors to develop country-specific strategies for addressing fears and misconceptions. We urge SADC Secretariat and member states to play a prominent role in negotiating for vaccines at the global level and ensure they plan and finance the rollout adequately to meet the needs of their people without delay, to prevent any further and more disastrous waves. The third one here is we implore SADC and member states to recognize the chronic failures of our public health systems, infrastructure, and policy, and build upon the current attention to inequality and availability to increased funding for public health to ensure that they create more accountable and effective systems that meet our ongoing needs and ensures we are prepared for any future pandemics. The seventh one there is related to labor. And we note the need for increase in decent work deficits combined with growth. My apologies there. Yeah, combined with growth, violence, and harassment in the world of work and other negative impacts of COVID-19 in the region. And we therefore, number one, call upon the governments to strengthen the quality of social dialogue in the region at both national and regional level, thus ensuring an inclusive approach to development, especially in the labor market. Second one there, we recommend that governments ratify and domesticate ILO Convention 190 on eliminating violence and harassment in the world of work. Very specific there. We encourage governments to develop and strengthen universal and inclusive national social protection systems, including social protection flows, and on establishing social security and labor agreements for enhancement of social protection, as countries that have institutionalized social assistance rely on domestic resources and allow and follow a rights or justice-based approach swift to providing emergency assistance. The fourth one there is an urgent call upon governments to address issues related to informality and to reduce decent work deficits in the informal economy and facilitate transition to formality in light of ILO recommendation 204 concerning the transition from the informal to the formal economy. The fifth one there is we urge the governments in the SADC region to recognize and respect workers and trade union rights, and also ensure that all migrant workers and their families have access to healthcare and income protection, suitable working and living conditions, including compliance with occupational safety and health standards, and related information on COVID-19. Trade unions and all other stakeholders in different sectors of the economy must be actively involved in the national COVID-19 response teams, task forces, and participate in the rollout and distribution of vaccine and PPEs. The last one there is we further urge SADC to develop indicators in relation to job creation and safeguard existing jobs by developing and implementing macroeconomic, fiscal and monetary policies that direct public expenditure towards providing hiring subsidies or youth guarantees, as well as investment in economic sectors with potential to absorb young job seekers. Our governments must ensure unemployment insurance benefits cover all young people who have lost jobs and anyone and everyone affected by retrenchments in order to avoid even greater losses in income and make access to benefits easier for those actively looking for a job. Now, we move on to young people, recommendations related to the youth. The 2 days conference, of course, noted the need to facilitate the full and informed participation of young people in the formulation and implementation of the RISDP. And we therefore, number one, call upon SADC leaders to increase access to information for young people to be actively engaged on the RISDP, including through the use of social media and other accessible platforms for the youth. We have all gone digital. We recommend the structural transformation of SADC to create democratic spaces for young people to not only participate in decision-making, but to exercise the democratic right to vote for or veto development plans adopted at SADC level. The third one there on young people is we encourage SADC leaders to stimulate youth participation in regional development processes from the bottom up by adopting common standards for youth inclusion and participation at national and local levels. Now, having gone through all these, here are our general recommendations. In conclusion, and in pursuit of advancing SADC's stated objectives as contained in the RISDP 2020 to 2023, Vision 2050, and regional instruments as listed above, we finally wish to, number one, welcome and express support for the provisions and spirit of the SADC Treaty, specifically in Article 5, 2B, 16A, and Articles 23 of the SADC Treaty, and multiple protocols that recognize non-state actors as an important stakeholder in the implementation of the SADC agenda. The second one is we implore SADC Secretariat and member states to establish platforms and processes, including publicly sharing plans and reports at regional and national levels to ensure non-state actors, inclusive of women, youth, workers, and smallholder producers in the implementation of the RISDP are able to engage substantively in the implementation and monitoring of the RISDP, build upon the principles of social accountability in the process. Number three, we urge the SADC Secretariat and member states to establish, strengthen, and operationalize the non-state actors engagement mechanism at regional level and the SNCs in each member states within the timeframes stipulated in the implementation plan. Number four, we encourage non-state actors to be actively involved at national and regional levels in government and NSA-led processes on the implementation and monitoring of the RISDP so that they can formalize the social compact
Encorajamos o secretariado da SADC
and people and ensure social accountability.
a nível nacional da região para poder incorporar a juventude.
Number 5.
O número 5,
Commit as co-conveners to host an annual dialogue to reflect on the process of
comprometer os conveners para poder convocar reuniões anuais a fim de refletir o progresso implementado pela RISDP SADC.
Number 6.
Número 6,
call upon SADC national parliaments to provide effective oversight.
Invocar a SADC, ou seja, convidar a SADC, o parlamento da SADC, para providenciar uma supervisão efetiva nos interesses e prioridades ao público e aos setores não governamentais.
The interests and priorities of public and non-state actors are represented in the development, monitoring, and implementation of the RISDP 2020 to 2030 at regional and national levels. Number 7. Upon SADC and its member states to support the transformation of the SADC Parliamentary Forum into a
SADC para
parliament
poder
and empower it to adequately perform
transformar o seu fórum
full range
parlamentar
of legislative,
num parlamento regional.
Sorry, Joy. Sorry, Joy. Daniel, can you please assist the interpreter, Portuguese interpreter? I think that you're not in the interpretation room.
So there is now concurrent interpretation.
Yes.
So please do bear with us. Our apologies for that. I'll go through number 7 again, and I'll give you time to follow through.
Go through in the
We
meantime.
further call upon SADC and its member states to support the transformation of the SADC Parliamentary Forum into a full regional parliament and empower it to adequately perform the required full range of legislative, representational, and oversight functions.
You are blessed in your family. You are blessed in your...
Julie, can I go ahead?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. The last one before the final conclusion is we express our profound appreciation to all our donors for their commitment to strengthening social accountability in the SADC region. In particular, the regional offices of the Swiss Agents for Development Cooperation, SDC, and the British High Commission in South Africa for their support of this dialogue. Finally, this communique is hereby submitted to the SADC Secretariat, and in particular, the Directorate of Policy, Planning and Resource Mobilization, as well as each SADC member state through their national contact points. Non-state actors at regional level and in each member states are also encouraged to make use of this communique and recommendations in their own engagements. Here ends the communique that was prepared concurrently as the process was ongoing. Any other additions and changes, I'm sure Daniel, Mr. Moderator, you would know that they would be welcome. So I thank you and hand over back to Daniel.
I should say Amandla.
Away too.
Thank you so much, Joy, for that spirited and fantastic presentation that you've just given. Colleagues, here we are. We've got this draft communique. I already see a couple of comments that have come through, so we can take those comments and maybe there could be other additional inputs. The first one I see, Joy, is under paragraph 1.2. They want us to add SADC national committees. I think that's straightforward.
That's in order, definitely.
Okay, and then paragraph 3, they're saying, can we also add the elderly?
That's
as
definitely
well as on 5.1. I think that's those two appear to be quite straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then there is a comment here for us to go back to point number 6 on vaccines. And I'm going to allow Glenn, if you're still on the call, to come in and elaborate. I don't see Glenn anymore. Oh yeah, no, he's still in. So Glenn, if you can please intervene and give us your suggestions on the point of vaccines.
Thanks, Daniel. Just on 5.1, I placed in the Q&A if we should be clearer about removing petty offences from statute. So that was it. But sorry, I just wanted us, we were going very quickly through the point on vaccines, and I actually just wanted us to have another look at it.
Sure.
Yeah. I think under the it's not so much a concern, but I do think that we need to perhaps be more precise in 6.2, where we speak of urging the SADC Secretariat and member states to play a prominent role in negotiating vaccines at a global level. I think it's very important that that be done as part and parcel of a continental initiative. So while it is very important for us to urge member states to be more coordinated and unified in the global negotiations, I think it's also important for us to ensure that that is taken as part and parcel of a continental intervention and advocacy block that can emerge. And then I think the question of drawing SADC's attention to the necessity to fully roll out and implement its commitments under the SADC Health Protocol would also probably be something useful to highlight there, if the drafters could formulate something to that effect. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Your sound was not very clear, but I think we did catch the gist of what you were suggesting right there. You were also talking about the continental without forgetting about the continental perspective and not just focused at the global level. So an amendment has been made to play a unified prominent role with the AU in negotiating for vaccines at the global level. Does that, Glenn, capture what you...
Yeah, sorry about the sound. Daniel, that's fine. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much, Glenn. Any other comments, colleagues? You can raise your hand or you can also post it in the Q&A so we can note it. I don't see any other hands, so Joy and also the various facilitators, rapporteurs who were engaged in the breakaway sessions. I want to say, colleagues, thank you so much for the fantastic work that you have done to bring us this far. This is really commendable and great. I should say amandla again to everybody who was involved in this exercise. And of course, not forgetting the participants for their inputs. We now want to move over to our last session. And here I'll be asking representatives of the various organizations to briefly intervene and give us some final reflections, some closing remarks. And I will start with the PSA Alliance, which is representing Action Aid, SAF, PSAM, SAF-AIDS, to give us their closing remarks. Julie, if you can come in, and then you can hand over to the other colleagues that will also give us some closing remarks. Very brief, 3 minutes each.
Sure. Thank you, Daniel. I'll try to share my 3 minutes. On behalf of the Partnership for Social Accountability Alliance, I would like to thank all the other co-conveners for joining us in this exciting journey. We are really honored that you have taken this journey together with us and look forward to working together with you in the future as well. In terms of the way forward for the PSA Alliance, we are planning to support non-state actor efforts around the RISDP implementation and monitoring across each of the 5 countries where we work, and that's Malawi, Mozambique, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. While our social accountability monitoring is already aligned with various regional commitments in health and agriculture, we will also ensure it reflects on and speaks to the RISDP commitments and processes as well. In the next month in particular, we will be working with a number of our country teams to hold national RISDP implementation dialogues, such as this one, but at the national level, building on the engagements we have had here with the SADC national contact points. We hope that such dialogues can also complement or be held together with planned meetings of the other co-conveners. I'll also at this point just invite the other members of the PSA Alliance, maybe starting with SF, and then PSEM and SAFAIDS to also briefly add anything they'd like to add.
Thank you very much, Judy. We thank you and we thank the Action Aid, but also we thank for KISA, SAT, SASPNI, GenderLink, SATUCC, and all the participants. And not forgetting Daniel, but also Roy for the fantastic illustrations during the meeting. We have gained a lot. We met comrades and we felt at home. We will continue working with the Minister of Agriculture, though we have been trying to contact them, but it seems in all the countries, 16 countries that we are working, they are not aware. So from this point on, we'll be working through the contact persons in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Also, we'll continue engaging with the SADC, particularly the Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources, but also working with the PSA Alliance and to produce a policy brief on the same. That will increase awareness on these issues. And lastly, we'll continue working with the like-minded organizations at grassroots level, district level, national level, going to regional, but also Pan-African in terms of the policy frameworks. I thank you, and on behalf of all farmers in Southern Africa, thank you again. Over to you, Julie.
Thank you. Percy, would you like to speak on behalf of SAFAIDS briefly?
Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate for all the panelists, the participants who have joined in. So this dialogue, what it has done for us as SAFAIDS is quite critical in the sense that it has created a space through which we identify the linkage between the regional commitments, so the risk at regional level, and how we can transfer this into tangible advocacy and engagement actions at national level. So post this is our strict desire to work with country level stakeholders so that we strengthen the engagement, especially with the national focal points, government, media, and other broad stakeholder categories, so that we drive the agenda. And it's our sincere hope that beyond just the conversations, we've all identified critical action points and that are innovative and can help us achieve the risk target towards 2030. Thank you so much.
Julie?
Thank you, Clayton. Is there anything that you'd like to add from PSEM?
Thanks very much, Julie. And I just extend gratitude to everyone who has just joined us for the last 2 days. They were fruitful deliberations in the plenary and the breakaway sessions. I think what we can pick from the dialogue is that one of the key issues that kept coming was that it was reiterated by almost everyone that there is this importance of social accountability for effective delivery of quality, affordable, and accessible and gender-responsive public services to all citizens. Therefore, this assists as we go ahead in terms of assisting in terms of smoothing, implementing, and monitoring the RISDP, and also pursuing the targets that are there. What I would perhaps urge everyone is to say, as we implement the recommendations, let's start with making sure that at least us, before we look at anybody, we do the implementation. So as PSEM, we say, let's continue to work together in playing our role to enhance social accountability so that at least there is enhanced public resource management in the region for better public service delivery. We'll continue to do the work with like-minded organizations and as team and the stakeholders so that we contribute to address,
les
societal
différentes
problems
parties
that arise.
prenantes et tout le monde inclus.
Thank you.
Nos esforços
Merci.
da promoção da paz. Portanto, a Organização das Nações Unidas.
Je crois qu'il y a un problème de son, parce que je suis en train d'entendre
Então, eu não,
mon collègue interprète portugais.
Mas não necessariamente seja fulano. Ela esteve, eu vi.
All right, apologies for that. I was managing the interpretation. There was some interference coming through. Thank you so much. Let me move on now and invite Manja Hadebe to give us some final comments from EGN. Manja?
Boa tarde, bom dia, and bonjour, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you, colleagues, for this opportunity. Not having spoken for the last 2 days and having listened instead, I've learned a lot. But I want to start off by thanking Julie and indeed our facilitator, Daniel. Julie brought this important dialogue to our attention at this very important and tumultuous time in the world, and more so in our region as we look at into the eye of the COVID storm. Some of us are experiencing the third wave and so on. Lack of vaccines and lack of vaccine rollout strategies and so forth. But we want to commend you for organizing this timely dialogue, and having looked at the strategic intent of the RISDP, the foundation pillar, the 3 core pillars, the 24 strategic objectives, and the 48 key outcomes, we realize that there is a lot of work for us as non-state actors, and that it is our duty to try and get involved at member state level. The RISDP points to the importance of our involvement as non-state actors, and it leaves it for us to push in our different member states how we can do so, and indeed in our different formations, building on the work that we have done over the years under the umbrella of the Apex organizations. We've organized annually a civil society forum. With SAPSIN, we've organized the People's Summit, and we've also had other people's grassroots movement coming on the platform to try to speak to SADC policy issues. But at all these gatherings, we've often lamented the difficulties of engaging with the SADC Secretariat. And we often try to secure Secretariat officials to respond to some of our recommendations as non-state actors. And we hope that the communiques and other demands that we convey through them to the heads of state will at least find an ear, because some of the issues that have come out in the RISDP, as we see it, are really, really important and speak to some of the core issues that we've been looking at. But again, when we meet, we always lament at the different relationships that the member states have with non-state actors. And as we speak now, one of our neighbors is up in flames, and these annual lamentations also always pull out for us clearly the perennial delinquents, and we always have a word to say. And I can say in the last 15 or so years that we've been involved with this we can see that the delinquents unfortunately have not changed. It's always the kingdom, Eswatini, Zimbabwe, Madagascar. And I think now we probably might have to add Zambia as well. These are countries that have increasingly been non-receptive to non-state actors. So I think it's important to look at how we can engage more and speak more in the tools and in the mechanisms that have been given to us. Well, I won't want to dilute the great presentations that have been shared over the last 2 days, but would like to thank all our experts, our friends from the Secretariat who availed themselves, all non-state actor colleagues who participated, and those who convened and made this dialogue possible. Our communique, as you heard Comrade Joy reading, captures our ambitions and speaks to the huge amount of work that still needs to be done across the region by member states, by citizens, by non-state actors, and by cooperating development partners to help us enjoy our citizenship of the region. So thank you very much to everyone who has spoken, who has participated, and thank you, Daniel. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Comrade
Muito
Mandia.
obrigado a todos.
Let's move on to
Vamos então passar
gender links. I think we're having the same problem with interpretation coming through. Shamiso, if you can please come in.
Shamiso, vamos ter a palavra, se faz favor.
Shamiso,
tem a palavra.
Antonio, can you hand back to the original interpreter because your voice is still coming over?
Okay.
Shamiso, we seem to have lost Shamiso. Let's move on to Tabani Moyo from MISA. Tabani, please.
Thank you very much, the facilitator Daniel, and also to thank Julie for the uncelebrated work that has been happening behind the scenes. The entire drafting committee that was working on the communique, the co-conveners, you, the participants, the regional bloc itself, the member states, actors, non-state actors. I think what is clear and clearly in front of us is that where our minds meet, we can produce so much. And from the perspective of MISA, we stand ready as a resource or a partner of choice in ensuring that the big dreams, the visions and missions are well communicated within the chain and ecosystem of the media, and that we stand readily available to provide our infrastructure in terms of the network of media advocates and lobby groups, and also expertise to the collective, that we, as long as we move as a unit, as has happened, so much can be achieved, and we are forever in debt for having been considered to be part of these deliberations, and surely we remain loyal to the resolutions of the collective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tabani, for those closing remarks. Let me move on to Fambai Ngirande, Fambai Sapsen. Fambai, if you can please come in.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mkoma, Daniel. What a powerful shift. Thank you, PSA, Alliance. It's really been a fantastic process. We just felt safe and secure in solidarity amongst the churches, amongst labor, amongst media, amongst the youth, all of us together pushing the same agenda is just fantastic, and something that we hope we can be able to sustain, not only within the context of RISDP, but within the broader development of the region. So it's not let's keep this up. As Sapsen, we just remain committed to this work of solidarity because it takes us further. Whereby in August, we are anticipating a huge convocation to shadow the Heads of State Summit in Malawi. Also to celebrate the achievement of democracy in Malawi. We've been getting good responses from areas where even the RISDP itself is taking root, and that's something we want standardized across the region. There's more solidarity that we need to evoke in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Swaziland, in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Mozambique, in solidarity with the women of of the region where poverty has been feminized. There's so much work that needs to be done. But now I just want to celebrate this achievement of solidarity and say, like Comrade Joy has said, Amandla, the power does belong to the people. It is now up to us to evoke it within the context of the RISDP as we go to the national consultative and awareness raising processes and beyond. We want to see the power of the people registered fully in the work and growth of SADC. Thank you, Nkoma, Daniel. Thank you, PSA leadership. Let's keep doing this again.
Amanja, Fambai. Let's move on to Mavis from SATUCC. Mavis.
Thank you so much, Brother Daniel. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone who worked behind the scenes to make this possible. We are grateful as SATUCC to have been a part of this process and that we will continue with all of you in this journey. We are very happy that we've been able to reconvene again with some of the Apex Alliance that we usually collaborate with. I see Comrade Mandla earlier on, Comrade Glenn also had to make an input. So for us as SATUCC going forward, we will continue through the permanent structure that we have with the SADC ELS to advocate for a tripartite plus where other stakeholders brought on board, because we realize that these issues really cut across and that every sector must be represented. We will continue through the Troika and the annual SADC ELS to make sure that some of the issues that have been discussed here, we push them for resolutions at the level of the SADC Secretariat through the structure that we have. We will also continue to advocate for a permanent structure that includes all non-state actors. We have discussed it with the SADC CNGO, with Mandla and Glenn, that we probably need some kind of funding mechanism for non-state actors that is similar to the structure of SADC, where the member states actually finance the Secretariat. So going forward, I think we will continue to dialogue, we'll continue to collaborate, we will continue to offer support and solidarity to different groups, and that we hope that all these issues that we sit and discuss are not in vain. Thank you very much for the most fruitful and productive 2 days, and we hope that we'll meet again soon. Thank you very much.
Kia leboha, Sis Mavis. Thank you so much, Amanja. Let's move on to the last speaker. That's Christabel from the Southern Africa Trust. Sisi Christabel.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And I'm not even going to repeat all the thanks from the partners, but thank you so much. And thank you so much to you for the excellent facilitation for the last 2 days. This has been so great. I think this has been one of the best meetings that I have participated and been part of, and partnering with everyone. And we're hoping that we can do this again soon. With all the core conveners and bringing in obviously the different resources and knowledge and information to really push the agenda of non-state actors within the region. From the Southern Africa Trust, I think we continue to do this work. From the last 2 years, we've been engaging around this RISDP process and facilitating various convenings within some of the Southern Africa countries, and we'll continue to do so. And we look forward to partnering with the national affiliates of the various core conveners in the different countries to continue having these conversations. We have also been producing a lot of resources, and I invite participants to visit the Southern Africa Trust Knowledge Hub. We've produced toolkits for non-state actors on regional integration. We have produced media toolkits. We are also working with various media partners and trying to ensure that there is more publicity and engagement around SADC processes at national level. So we'll continue to engage and support different organizations and also working with the various media groups to actually do this work. So we look forward to partnerships. And just to say, my last word is thank you to everybody who participated, and also the coordination from ActionAid, Julie and the team. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sister Christabel. Amandla, to you as well, and to your organization, the Trust. Julie, are there any final housekeeping remarks, comments before we bring this to a close?
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much to you for stewarding this process through the last 2 days, and to our interpreters as well. And again, to all the co-conveners. I think what we'll do now is we'll finalize the draft communique together with the other co-conveners, and we'll share this with everyone. And please, if you haven't already registered, please make sure you register so that you can receive all our communications about the way forward.
Thank you, Julie. And I take it to also share copies of all the presentations, because colleagues were requesting for copies of presentations as well.
Yes, definitely. We'll share copies of the presentation as well as the final report for the dialogue as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Colleagues, we've now come to the end of our dialogue, and I want to, on my behalf as well, to thank everybody, in particular the participants that made this webinar a success that it was. Also to our panelists for your presentations, your interventions that you made, which were really insightful, that then brought in life to this dialogue. And lastly, but by no means least, to thank the organizers for all the work that was put into preparing for this. I know it's been quite a task over the last 2 or so months, meeting every so often just to go through the agenda, the program, up to this point where we are. Thank you so much. And I am walking away with a renewed hope that this region, given the enthusiasm, given the commitment that I'm feeling around the room, that we will take our region forward. May we remain safe given the pandemic that we are faced with, and continue in fighting the battle to eradicate our region of poverty. Together, we will make a difference. Amandla, thank you so much.
Away too.
Away too. Thank you so much, and goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Viva, comrades, viva!
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 Thank you, viva!
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 Viva! Thank you so much.